The polls are looking good for New Zealand First heading into election year, but also there's a lot happening on the world stage for Winston Peters, our Foreign Minister, who joins us live this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I know you don't like polls, Minister, but you can't hate these ones.
What's your next question?
Well, how do you feel about them?
Now, you were told before we came on this program that I don't waste my time talking about unprofessional polls. I'll tell you why. In other democracies where there's a gap of 3% or more between the pollsters, they get together and sort out their criteria. Here we have 10 and 14% sometimes, and no one gives a professional darn about telling the New Zealand people the truth. And so I'm not going to engage with them in that context. And I'm doing it for the same reason that others have done it in the past, but I've got a political science degree and I've been in politics a long time, and I hate this inaccuracy or third world behaviour when it comes to polling. Polling is important. It's talking about market thoughts and market trends. So let's give the market information we can rely upon, not the junk that they keep putting out and saying, oh, I'm right and the other guy's wrong.
So hang on, what's your issue? Are you saying it's undercounting New Zealand First support? What do you think it is?
No, I just said to you, in Australia, Canada, the UK, United States, if there's gaps of more than 3% in the pollsters' various opinions, they agree to get together and sort out what can be the wrong, what is the discrepancy, what is the criteria we're using wrong, what is the system that we're not examining properly. In our case, there's been up to 14% and higher differences in the polls, and there's no explanation, there's no attempt to remain professional. They just say, well, we're right and the other guy's wrong. Therefore, these polls are misleading New Zealanders as to what's going on.
Right. So you're not actually on 10%. I mean, just it's a good result. Just say, oh, that's good. Let's move on.
Oh no, excuse me. Look, I've been in situations where they've said we're on 1.8%, and
I know you have.
Better.
Yeah.
We're on 10.8%. If they'd told the truth in the first place, maybe we'd have been on 20%. You see what I mean?
Is that what you're hoping to get? I mean, are you hoping? Do you hope?
I love the way you just slide away from the facts and go straight to the next speculation. We're going to do the best we can, and more importantly, as I said last year, we're going to turn these polls into confetti, and that's the only thing you can rely upon now.
Okay. And what about your support partners that you might work with after the election? You've said you've ruled out Te Pāti Māori, so anything that, you wouldn't join a coalition with a party or a government that was being propped up on confidence and supply by Te Pāti Māori. Same goes for the Greens?
Look, the Pāti Māori is based on race, and if this country needs to go ahead doing one thing, we need to be one people, one country, one nation. We've all got different cultures, we've got different backgrounds, we've got different DNA, but that's not how you build nationhood. And so, no, we're not going to deal with a bunch of racists who are so bad they actually say about some of us who have Maori in our background and our DNA that we haven't got the right blood quantum. You could not be more racist and arrogant than that, and thank heavens the Maori people have discovered just what a sham the Maori Party is. They're getting far more support from you people and the commentariat than they're getting from the ordinary Maori. Look at that. That's where the polls are accurate.
What about the Greens?
As for the rest of them, we're not going to deal with people who cheat and lie to you. I was in a cabinet with Hipkins and that leadership, and they simply kept information away from us. They lied to us, and now it's all exposed. We didn't know half the things they were doing behind closed doors. And to think that they would never even been known, from Jacinda Ardern to Hipkins, who never even got promoted, would have probably been going to, forget abolition land, so to speak. We gave them a chance, and they repaired it with that. So, no, we're not going back there.
Okay, so that's a no to the Greens, it's a no to Te Pāti Māori, and it's a no to Hipkins. Basically, that means that you'll be going with the coalition, doesn't it? I mean, is that the inference people should draw from the way that you're talking? Because it's quite important to people to know what kind of government they might get. It's all very well supporting New Zealand First, but what does it actually look like afterwards?
Well, I love this, Ryan. We're 10 months away from an election, and you're on here trying to tell the public what it's going to be like the day after on the 8th of November 2026. Why don't we consult the public first and let them decide? Why doesn't the commentariat get out of the way? Because I'm telling you this, when this election's over, on the 7th of November 2026, this country will have been changed dramatically. That's what we're targeting and planning to do. And how we're going to get there is part of our strategy. And if you want to know about it, join a party called New Zealand First and join the mission. You know what a mission is? It's a purpose, and we're setting about that right here, right now.
We've seen a free trade deal overnight between the EU and India. It's massive, 2 billion people, 25% of the world's GDP. New Zealand First obviously is against the deal that we have struck with India. Is there anything I don't know whether you've had a chance to look at it, but there is an exclusion for dairy in their deal as well. Any indication that we could actually get a better deal than what we have?
Of course, there's an indication we could have got a better deal than we have. We had set, at the Prime Minister's own behest, to have a free trade deal by the next election. Instead of waiting for us to get the best in 3 years, we've settled for it in less than 2 years. See what the problem is here? And on the question of immigration, which is going to be massive in this matter, the truth is not being told the public. Go and dissect what that means. It means we can have tens of thousands of people getting here of right and building up employment opportunities in this country for themselves and taking those opportunities away from New Zealanders. If ever I saw an unfocused immigration policy, this is it. I regret this because I've spent a lot of time in India on a free trade deal, and I still believe we could have done much better. But rushing to a decision, like Jacinda Ardern did, when she signed up to our deal with the EU, we knew it was a bad deal. In fact, the then trade spokesman was shocked by what he saw, but he was knuckled into line, so to speak. I remember what Damien Connor first saw when he heard that she was going to sign up to it. But all she wanted to do was be performative. Look, I got a deal. No one's looking behind the deal and saying, yes, so what sort of car you've got? Right? Does this car go properly? No one's looking at it properly. And we've got to stop that, because if we want to be the first world economy that we once were, then we need realistic and honest people telling us the true nature of what they've signed up to.
Okay, fair. Does that mean that you wouldn't support it? Like, would it be in your coalition agreements that you wouldn't support something like that? And same goes for asset sales. I mean, how bottom liney are these for you?
Well, if you're going to talk about asset sales, then go and tell the public what they are and campaign on it. Don't think in the middle of a campaign, in the middle of a period between elections, when you haven't told the people, you've got a right to start selling their asset wealth. Because what it actually does is disguise, and that's what these politicians seek to do, and it's happened across decades in this country. They disguise their failure to run the country by selling off their parents and grandparents' asset wealth, and all of a sudden saying we're doing things properly. Now we've turned the budget into surplus. No, they haven't. They've sold off the savings and the infrastructural investments of generations before that, and so the asset will be now owned by foreigners. And every time we get on a car or transport or whatever or train, if they get away with their plan, then you'll be paying to another foreign economy. All the added value of transport and cartage and railways should be going to one group of people, the New Zealand people who built it in the first place. That's the difference between our policy,
asset sales wouldn't...
our nationalistic interest and their globalist approach.
Is that a sort of a bottom line for you, no asset sales and any government you'd support?
Well, you can't say no asset sales, because if, for example, something is obsolete now and you wish to replace it with something much better, for example, like a military aircraft or something, if you go that absolutist way, then you will be making some huge mistakes.
All right.
But we say no critical asset sales that belong to the people of this country, built up by their ancestors,
Minister,
into foreign hands.
Minister, we had Phil Goff on the show yesterday, and I want to give you a chance to respond to what he had to say. This was him talking about Trump and his NATO troops comment, what's happening in Middle East, a whole bunch of stuff. Have a listen. Now, have you got anything you want to say to Winston this morning?
Yeah, bloody grow some balls.
Yeah, there was a longer clip there, but basically he's not happy. He says that we are kowtowing to the Americans. We're not speaking up enough on some of these important issues. We shouldn't be joining this, Gaza peace board. What do you have to say?
Oh, look, these people have been in politics a long time ago. They left. They were never great performers when they were there, and probably did an even worse job when he was the mayor of Auckland. We all know what a disaster Auckland became. But here's my point. He said we had said nothing on the question of Greenland. Yes, I had. I've made it very clear in a statement. And he goes on about, for example, something to do with the defence minister. In short, that comment was made by Judith Collins. Judith made a substantial statement which was covered in yesterday's Herald in the editorial. Doesn't Phil Goff know this? No, but he's beating his gums off as though that no matter who the right minister is, if he was a foreign minister, he'd be speaking. So if it was a defence matter, he'd talk. If it was a policing matter, he'd talk. If it was a medical matter, he'd talk. That's not the way you run sound governments. You have ministers to cover the subjects, and we have covered those. And my point, though, to Phil Goff is every time you open your mouth, you're telling us that Hipkins, as a leader, is useless. Because you're not waiting for what he says. He didn't make those comments. No, you thought you had to. And then you're telling Isabel, when it comes to medical matters, that you think she's useless. Or Peter Henry on foreign affairs, that he's useless. And here you go, the former leader, who was not a success story, who
coming out and saying
showed the money, didn't. When he was asked show the money, you remember, in that famous debate, he didn't know what to say. He looked like a possum in the headlights.
Minister,
if he'd been smart, he would have won the campaign right there.
What of the Gaza Peace Board? Have we made a decision yet about whether we will join it?
No, we've got papers being prepared. We're looking at the total ambit of this thing. It could be quite massive. We want to know what we're dealing with, and we're going to have a discussion before we rush to judgment. That's all I've said. But you've got some people who somehow think we're going to make New Zealand great by beating our gums off all the time and showing off and carrying on. And then when somebody doesn't do that, they have the effrontery to say someone should get some, you know what. Well, my message to Phil Goff is you were part of the PYM, you little pinko communist one time, weren't you, sunshine? What made you change?
Very good. All right, Winston,
I've got a memory for these people.
Yes.
I know what their record is.